The purpose of the commission is to approve certificates of appropriateness for new construction or major work, and to do so by conducting hearings and findings of fact when applications come before us. Our mission is to take no action except to preserve and approve that which is congruous with the special character of the Village of Pinehurst Historic District. I am Molly Gwynn, Chairman, and I'm going to call roll for the other commissioners. And if you would just answer present. Terry Lertz. Tom Schroeder.
Present.
John Taylor.
Present.
Eric Von Salzen.
Present.
Richard Vincent.
Present.
Also present are Peter Hughes, Senior Planner. Darren, is Darren there?
Darren
Planning
is
Director.
Else, but
okay. Kelly Brown, Planning and Administrative Assistant. Absent today are Terry Lertz and Jim McChesney. We have a quorum, so we can proceed. This is a quasi-judicial hearing, so anyone desiring to testify must be sworn in, and we are required to consider only facts presented in this hearing. The proceedings are video recorded. Our first order of business is to review and approve two sets of minutes. We have the February 27th minutes and the March 26th minutes. Any discussion on the February 27th regular meeting minutes? In that case, do I have a motion to approve?
Tom Schroeder,
Please
so
identify
moved.
yourself. Please identify yourself when you make the motion.
Tom Schroeder, motion to approve the February minutes.
Thank you. Second?
Eric Von Salzen, second.
Thank you, Eric. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, so moving on to the March 26th regular minutes. Is there any discussion on those minutes? In that case, is there a motion to approve?
Eric Von Salzen, so moved.
Thank you, Eric. And a second?
Tom Schroeder, second.
Tom Schroeder, thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Now I need another motion to recess the regular meeting and to open the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
Richard Vincent, so moved.
Richard, thank you. And a second?
John Taylor, second.
John, thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Now I need to swear in Peter Hughes and the applicant, Russ Cribbs. I'm going to do that, both of you together. Do you affirm that the testimony you shall give to the commission shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Peter Hughes?
I do.
Russ Cribbs?
Peter, we can't see or hear Wes.
We can't.
Russ?
He's on mute, yes. He's just unmuted.
Okay.
Russ Cribbs?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Great.
So do you affirm that you will swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. I have one more thing to do. And that is to ask the commissioners for disclosures. If you made a site visit or whether you have had any ex parte communication on the case. So I'm going to call the roll. Tom Schroeder.
I've visited the site and have had no ex parte communication.
All right. John Taylor.
Likewise, I visited the site. I've had no ex parte communication.
Eric.
I visited the site and I've had no ex parte communications.
And Richard Vincent.
I have visited the site, no ex parte communication.
And for myself, Molly Gwynn, I have visited the site. So at this point, Peter, the meeting is yours.
Thank you, Molly. This public hearing is okay. Let's try this again. This public hearing is to consider a request within the Pinehurst Historic District for an exterior modification to include renovation of an existing garage with the addition of a new roof, siding, paint, windows, and garage doors at 85 Community Road. The property can be identified in the Moore County Tax Registry by Moore County PIN number 856-209-073-413. The property owners are Paul and Lorelei Milan, and the applicant is Krebs Construction. Some background on the property. According to the National Historic Landmark Survey, the primary structure, 85 Community Road, was constructed in 1919 and is listed as a contributing building. However, the accessory structure being proposed for renovation today is not listed as a contributing structure. In 2013, 85 Community Road received a COA for an addition to the main house and alterations to the existing home. In 2019, prior to the new Historic District guidelines, 85 Community Road received a COA issued by staff for renovations of a small shed located in the rear in between the home and the garage. In the Historic District, 85 Community is located adjacent to other contributing structures. This is a table showing the other structures. We have 95 Community that was built in 1916. It's a colonial revival. And then you also have some other properties that are not contributing, but these are the properties. 80 Community Road is the Thistle, and it's the wooded shingled house with a hipped roof, and it was constructed in 1916. And then we have 70 Maple, constructed in 1915, and it was the Rassy Wicker was the owner, most commonly associated with this one-story cottage. This is our notification map showing where the property and proposed project is and the properties that were notified in the immediate area. The applicant is proposing multiple front-facing garages. The guidelines specifically state that multiple front-facing garages are not appropriate. The commission has the ability to approve requests that are not compliant with the guidelines if the burden of proof is satisfied. The proposed garage will feature 2 car garages and 1 smaller garage, which I would assume is the golf cart, which the applicant can testify to. The applicant is proposing to modify the roof line of the existing garage. The existing roof is a flat roof sloping front to back. The applicant is proposing a pitched roof, 6/12, that is more architecturally compatible with the primary residential structure. The applicant is proposing to add multiple windows and doors. The applicant is proposing to reshingle the roof of the garage. The shingles will match the asphalt shingles of the existing home. The applicant is proposing to resurface the existing garage. The proposed material is cedar shake to match the shakes of the existing home, and the proposed paint colors are congruous with the Village of Pinehurst color palette. Exhibit D was submitted by the applicant. It is the site plan for 85 Community Road. The structure is located in the northeast corner there. It is a non-conforming structure, but because the non-conforming is not being enlarged, this project can be approved and permitted. This is a zoomed in view showing how close it is to the setbacks. And like I said before, it does not meet current setbacks, but it is an existing non-conformity. This is photos submitted by the applicant of the existing structure. As you can see, it is not a colonial or cottage style house like the current home. There is the modified shed from 2019, which matches the architecture of the existing home. It is the she shed on site. And there's the last photo submitted by the applicant. These are the proposed elevations. The elevations show shake siding, asphalt shingles, and 3 garage doors facing out toward the street. This is the rear elevation, side elevation with a window for the right elevation. And then we also have the left elevation, which will feature a new door and also new windows. And all the siding for the structure will be shake shingle. This is staff photos from the front view. This is the rear photo of the existing structure. And if you look closely to the bottom right of this photo, there is a brick foundation existing. This is a photo of the left elevation showing a small window, and currently there is a door on the front of the house, but they're going to relocate that door to the left elevation. This is a photo of the right elevation, and they're going to add a window to this elevation. And then this is a photo of the existing primary home. As you can see, it's got the shake siding, the asphalt shingles. It has the 2 8-pane windows, and is very similar in construction to the proposed architecture of the garage. The Historic District guidelines state that multiple front-facing garages are not appropriate, and that has been proposed. But throughout the district, there are other properties that do have multiple front-facing garages. 95 Community Road has a multiple front-facing garage. 35 Dogwood Road, also in the Historic District, has multiple front-facing garages. And 54 Everett Road has multiple front-facing garages. These are just 3 examples of front-facing garages with multiple garages in the Historic District. There are other locations throughout the district that do have this. This is the building material list submitted by the applicant. There is one issue with it. and that is on the roof. Proposed colors were not indicated, and the applicant will testify to what that color will be. At this time, I would like to submit the staff report, presentation, application, applicant's material, photos, and site plan, and the findings of fact into the official record. Jason, if you would unmute. You'd be unmuting everybody at this point. Okay.
So is Russ ready to add to your presentation, Peter?
I am.
Great. Tell us more about the project.
Well, first of all, thank you for meeting like this so we could go ahead and get started. I know this is a little unusual, and thank you for making the effort to do this. We did do the house originally. We did the renovation. We did not do the she shed last year, so I am very confident that we'll be able to do the garage to match the house, and that's why these folks hired us to do this. We actually used the same designer as well that did the house originally, David Nichols, we've done a lot of designs for us. And I think there's one question I have, but I will say the shingles will match on the garage will match the house. The roof shingles, that is. And we're using weatherwood, which is a brown gray shingle, which is a very common shingle that we've used many, many times in the village.
Anything else?
I do have a question. I know I normally don't probably ask questions of you guys, so I don't know if it's Peter and I talked about this. I don't know, but I'd like maybe we could approve two things, because we're not going to obviously demolish the structure. We're going to leave the structure intact. And so my preference would be that we can do a brick and block foundation on this structure, but I cannot attest, affirm, whatever, that the structure, if we tried to raise the structure, that we could do that. If we cannot do that, then we would do a monolithic pour, where we would pour, because part of if you visited the shed, I don't know if you looked, or the garage, I don't know if you looked inside, but some of the structure has a dirt floor and some has busted concrete. If we have to, obviously, not only do I have to meet code, but also I would want it to have a structure underneath the old structure. So I would like for you to approve the brick and block foundation as presented, but in the event that we could not do that, I don't want it to fall apart, of course. If we cannot do that, then I would want to be able to pour a monolithic slab, which would only be concrete.
Okay, so we would be approving the brick and block, but then does that concrete pour that you might have to do, would that be a condition, Peter, or how would we handle that?
Yeah, you could place a condition saying that you approve both the foundation that he's proposed, and then if the situation is not able to be completed that way, the project can't be completed that way for whatever reason, he can do it this way as well.
Okay.
I have a question about the pour too.
Okay.
If you do go to having to do the pour would be done completely around the building, right? You wouldn't leave part of it brick and part of it a pour.
Correct.
Okay. So it would be consistent on all four sides.
Yes, sir. If we can do that, again, that's I hope that's what we can do. That is it's our intention to have a brick foundation. But if not, in the event that does not work, then we would do a monolithic pour, and hopefully the foundation would stay in place.
So what I guess I'm just understanding this a little bit better. You could in fact just do a patchwork concrete, and maybe that would be substantial enough for the structure.
Correct.
Okay. I'm familiar with that. That was something we had to do with our garage. So it was partial pour. Yeah. Okay.
But that's the only thing that I have to add. I don't think there's there's anything else to add on my part. Obviously, this is, the original owner, not the original owners, that was the Wickers, but the folks that we did, the Herkerts that we did the house renovation for, they wanted to do that at the time, but budget didn't allow. But we didn't tear it down because we were afraid that we couldn't rebuild it. And so obviously the building will be significant. The garage will be significantly better and more attractive than what we've got now. Everybody would agree with that. That's a fact.
Do any commissioners have any more questions or need any clarifications on the project? I would like to ask about the windows. What kind of windows you plan to use, Russ? It says vinyl.
Well, right. And so on the house, when we did the renovation, the owners wanted to keep the original windows, and so we did that. Even though they're not energy efficient, but they're beautiful and historic and wavy glass. But when we did the addition, we did an all vinyl window, and that's what we proposed to do on the garage.
Okay, and it's a simulated divided light?
Correct.
Okay. What about you say that the cedar shakes are fake cedar shakes. What does
that is not, actually, that is not correct. I noticed that this morning when I was reviewing it. Actually, I'm sorry, the fake is the existing material. That means the T1, the T111 is existing material, and that's just a fake simulated cedar. But what we're doing is a real cedar shake that is it's the same thing that's on the house.
Okay. And the house looks great, so
thank you.
We can expect a good result.
Well, this is kind of interesting to me. So we were able to, we took all we did the renovation before. We took all the shakes off the house, and we flipped them over, and we're able to reuse them. And as a result, we had a tremendous number of shakes left over, and they're in the garage, so we're going to be able to use those. And the original owners paid for them, so we'll be able to reuse those. And they're only just a few years old. They're in great shape. So
that's great.
So I have a question, Molly. So, and this is for you, Russ. So what you're asking us to prove today is, number one, certificate of appropriateness for all the work that you want to do here. And then two, in the event that you cannot repair, patch, and sort of fix the flaw, that the structure would be essentially taken down, and then you would do a monolithic pour like a slab and then rebuild.
We would not remove it, but we would raise the structure and then pour underneath.
Okay, gotcha. And the second part is the tree. That's I didn't go inside. I'm assuming there's probably some root travel underneath this building. What's the plan with the tree that's next to it?
We're planning to keep the tree there, and if we have to cut anything in the structure, we will.
There you go. Okay.
All right. Any more discussion? Any more questions? Well, I think we're ready for a motion to approve. Is anyone ready to make a motion?
This is Eric. I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Eric.
Move as follows. Upon due consideration of the application package submitted and the testimony given, the Historic Preservation Commission concludes as follows: that the project as proposed is not in full conformity with the guidelines, but nevertheless, the applicant has satisfied the burden of persuasion, and the project, subject to any conditions imposed by the commission, is deemed congruous with the Pinehurst Historic District.
Do you want to add the condition of the concrete pour?
I would like to do that. I didn't quite follow it. Perhaps the applicant's witness could state again for our edification exactly what it is that's being proposed.
We are requesting a monolithic pour in the event that the brick foundation cannot be maintained during reconstruction of the structure.
Okay, so the condition would be that a monolithic pour would be approved in the event that the structural, what do I want to say? Integrity of the building cannot be maintained.
The proposed brick foundation.
The proposed. Okay, so let me back up. Let's restate that with the condition that a monolithic pour would be approved if the structural integrity and the foundation integrity cannot be maintained. Something like that? Okay. All right, so we have a motion. I need a second to the motion, please.
John
Second.
Taylor, second.
John Taylor seconded the motion. And once again, I'm going to call the roll for the vote. Tom Schroeder.
Tom Schroeder, yes.
John Taylor.
Yes.
Eric Von Salzen.
Yes.
Richard Vincent.
Yes.
Molly Gwynn, yes. So the application has been approved. Congratulations.
Thank you.
The next item of business is
Public comment?
Yeah, there's no one here in attendance.
Okay, I'm just checking.
now I do need a motion to adjourn the public hearing and to re-enter our regular meeting. Do I hear a motion?
So moved, Tom Schroeder.
Tom Schroeder made the
Second,
motion. And second to the motion?
Richard seconded.
Richard seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The next order of business is a review of normal maintenance and minor work items. I'm not sure that there were any.
There were no minor works for the time between March 16th
projects.
and April 16th, so we're not reviewing anything.
So Peter's just been twiddling his thumbs.
Well, I make it look like I work hard.
You picked a good one, Peter.
Yeah.
All right. We do have a bit of general business to discuss. The first order or the first topic is a discussion of the demolition guideline and what we want to do about that going forward. Thank you to Tom Schroeder for noticing that the essence of that guideline was missing from the guidelines, from the document. And I use my print copy of the guidelines, and I know many of you use the online version, but I use the print copy, and by jingo, it was not there. So I was astonished. So thank you for doing that. And obviously, putting that, returning that to the guidelines on demolition should be done in the future. And perhaps we can package it with other improvements or modifications that are going to come up, as they always do. But Peter, did you have some ideas on that, or?
We have a running list going, but if there's anything that you guys are looking at, the big one on my list is an amendment process and what that might entail or look like. So oftentimes we have applications that come before you that get approved, and there might be minor changes that I can handle at the staff level, but then there might be a major change. And just, is there a way for us to bring that back as an amendment versus a whole new COA package? Because right now, the good example would be Mrs. I forget her name, the 20 Medlin project, Mrs. Manzo. She applied for the front facade to be lap siding, and then she decided she wanted the whole building to be lap siding. And while she didn't get approval for the whole building, in a way, she was getting approval twice for the same project. And she could have get an amendment. She had to come back, pay another $500. We had to hold a special meeting. it was just a cumbersome process. So maybe cleaning that part up. And then to speak to your demolition portion, it is included in the PDO. And
Yes.
so it is there. So we do still have that language somewhere. And we can put that in the guidelines if we'd like.
Well, I think there's an issue with it in the PDO. It is in and of itself is not an issue. Other than if we're going to invoke it, it needs to be in our guidelines because the PDO doesn't, our jurisdiction is approved based on what the village says is in our guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not in our guidelines, technically, we have no jurisdiction of it. So I think you can leave it in a PDO if you want, although I really don't understand why it's there in the first place because it only involves an HPC issue and not anything else with planning or zoning or anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it needs to be either left included in ours, but either way needs to be included in ours so that we have one place to look. My other question, if you leave it in there and we try to do that, then my next question is what else is in the PDO that I need to understand to do my job?
Okay.
Well, that would be a lot. But in fact, in many cases, the PDO covers items so well that as we were rewriting the guidelines, we felt the PDO did a fine job of that.
Correct.
Here's what's interesting to me, Tom. The demolition guideline was present in the old guidelines. So if you go back to your 2013 copy, which I assume you have from your training, you will find very good verbiage. So I don't know why it was dropped.
And if I could,
it reminds me of the incident with Field of Play. It was totally unintentional. John, go ahead.
and if I could, from the standpoint of an applicant reading through these, I don't think it's reasonable for an applicant to have to also read the PDO. So if they were coming and thinking of demolishing a structure, they ought to be able to read the relevant sections just in the historic district guidelines.
Yes. Anyone else?
Because I'm not sure that planning and zoning could enforce that anyway, because they have no jurisdiction on being able to extend a demolition, one of our permits or one of our
appropriateness
documents. See, it's our document. I'm not sure planning and zoning would be able to, if we said we want to demolish today, that they could extend it. They have no jurisdiction to push it out to 365 or reverse. If we said we wanted it 6 months out, they wouldn't be able to pull it back to 30 days because they really have no jurisdiction in it. It's only our jurisdiction because it's our document to start out with. Our COA.
Well, if you read the PDO section on demolition, you realize that there are instances where village council has jurisdiction. Do you remember that?
I do, but it's not on a COA.
No.
You're the only person this group is the only people that have any jurisdiction over a COA. And the wording is very clear in the statute. It says the COA can go out to 365 days. So I don't know how anybody else would have jurisdiction to extend or reduce or make any kind of determination because it clearly says the COA shall be. So that's my point, is it's not something that somebody else can do. We're the only group who can take that by statute, as I read it, is the only group who can make that determination. It doesn't allow for planning and zoning or anybody else to do it.
Well, you're right. It is under our jurisdiction that demolition can be approved, but you realize we can never deny a demolition. We can only delay it. And that's the salient point.
Right.
Am I correct that if we were to propose to reinsert this now, that also then has to be approved by village council?
Correct.
Yes. Yes.
That's a good field of play, right?
That's
But
correct.
certainly in federal legislation, there's always technical corrections acts which are passed. I would think that we ought to be able to do this fairly straightforwardly, but I do think it ought to get put back in sooner rather than later.
I do too.
It'd be the same process we went through for field of play and when we modified the demolition section before to remove some conflicting language. So it would go before you guys. You guys would recommend it after, reading through it, and then it would go before Village Council with your recommendation for final approval.
So this would be a goal, to have the verbiage ready for the next meeting, approve it, and send it on.
We can do that. I would prefer to send a package. So if you guys have anything tabbed in your books that also needs to be changed and that we need to talk about, and we could shoot for maybe a July or June timeline, so that way we can do more than just one item. There might be some other things in there that we could correct.
If we have them and they're ready, I think so, but I'm not sure I would hold this one up particularly just to see that. I would recommend, and Molly, it's your decision, that we move ahead with this one, and if we can include some others with it, I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Yes.
So do we want to think a little bit more about Peter's suggestion that he wants to use an amendment as a way to approve changes to an existing COA, instead of, in the case of Lee Mansell, having to bring the applicant in again? She essentially paid for 2 hearings.
Well,
right?
The question on payment is not ours. That's a Village Council issue. We don't decide who gets to pay what.
That's correct.
Well, I know, but we try to be, accessible and agreeable, and not to cause undue hardship. So that's my point about charging the 2 fees. And we worked really hard not to do that, but it was just a situation that we saw no way around.
I think we should focus on the process first and then leave the fees to the other powers that be.
Well, if you've got an idea of what the process ought to be and you want to throw that in and get it out to us, so we have a chance to look at it before the June meeting, that's perfect as far as I can see.
Does anyone else have an issue that they think needs to be, or this is something to think about?
We have.
I'm with Tom. I mean, today could have easily been a demo case, so I think to delay 2 or 3 months, this may come up again. So I think even if there's going to be other changes later on in the year, let's address them as they come up.
Okay. There is one minor issue that I'd like to tackle, and that's under minor work, we allow for the demolition of, I think, buildings of 120 square feet, but also we allow for the addition of buildings of 144 square feet. So have those match up.
Yes.
We allow for no dimension greater than 12, basically, and just allow for someone who decided to put one of those buildings up not have to go through the major process when they went through the minor process to take it down.
I think we'd be a good idea that we ought to look at. If you can work up the words and show us the old words and the new words that you want, I think that's the other. I think there's a bunch of typos in there that staff needs to look at too. There's some sections that aren't enumerated correctly or duplicated that we could just clean up too as we find those. And I can give you the 1 or 2 or 3 that I found.
Okay.
Well, Tom, I don't know whether you received my email on this, but I did point out to you that the typos in the table of contents do not reflect the hard copy of the guidelines. Something happened in the translation from print copy to online copy.
Okay,
so,
they should match though.
Well, they should match. So this would be a project for somebody over the summer or whenever.
Well, maybe
to prove the online.
We'll fix it.
Okay,
it's not a hard fix.
Yeah. So maybe we just need to put a new online one up there without the typos in it.
Yeah.
Because the hard copy and the online copy ought to be exactly identical, I would think.
Yeah, and that's why I was so surprised when I read the table of contents that you put up for all of us. Yeah. I thought, well, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Peter, you may just want to look at updating the new one with whatever's updated and corrected.
Yeah, we'll fix that immediately. And then Molly, you wanted to talk about your time here ending and the next person up.
Well, May will be my last meeting and Jim McChesney's last meeting, so the 2 of us will go riding off into the sunset. And we are working hard to get 2 new commissioners appointed. We will be having conversations with candidates next week. And so those, of course, those recommendations will go to Village Council, and Village Council will make the appointments. At the same time, we will be making recommendations for the next chair, because again, that is Village Council jurisdiction to appoint the new chair of the HPC. So if you're interested in the job, let me know about that. Or if you don't want to do the job, let me know that too. And so, it's another bit of business that needs to be done by the May meeting. Any questions or observations about that? It's just the way it is. Village Council makes the appointments. So,
Molly, I would. Sorry, go ahead, Richard.
No, go for it.
Just going to say, I will be on record as saying that I would not like to be the new chairman.
Oh my goodness.
I'm sure that stuns you, but I do not. I give you great credit, and Tom as well, for some of the efforts you spend, which I would not have the time to spend on some of these very important but technical issues. So I would take myself out of the running, please.
Okay, thank you very much. I know you're still working and traveling, and that makes a big difference, because one of the requirements really is to be, to attend as often as possible. And I am guilty of missing a meeting every year, because that's the March meeting when I am most likely with my grandchildren, and nothing interferes with that. So,
Nor should it, Molly.
Yeah, that's the way it is.
Molly, just one thing. So I'll follow with John, and mine's more experience based. I think I've only missed 1 meeting today out of the last 8. But out of curiosity, how thick is the pile of candidates? I mean, do we have 2 applicants? I guess that's the best place to start.
Oh, we have a lot of candidates.
Okay, good.
Actually, we had a lot of applications online.
That's good.
Yeah, it is good. I will say that I am partial to candidates from the historic district, because, Richard, you will be the one historic district resident left when I retire. And we need more. So there's that.
Well, I guess we can't sell a house now like my wife wants. So.
Oh, well, if you stay in the district, it's okay.
You could buy another one in the district.
There you go.
I'm joking.
I can think of any number of houses that are for sale.
We've talked about this in the past, as far as, if we have the, congruency, and we've talked about compliance, and that's not our purview. We don't follow up with these folks. With Miss Manzo, did she come forward and say, I want to change, or was there someone from the building department that went to check out her property?
Her applicant, Tyler, he contacted me, talking to me about the change, and it kind of grew into other changes. And once those other changes were discovered, it had to come back. And that's usually how we find them, is they reach out. But also prevalently, I'll go out and do the final inspection, and there'll be things that either were added or weren't added, things missing. That's usually how it is. I guess the good reference one will be, you guys will be seeing one in the future for 600 Linden. It came before you for demolition in 2018, then got new construction in 2019 approval. And they made some modifications that will have to come back before you for approval.
Okay. The reason I asked that is because, take today's case, for example, that structure is hanging on by a thread. I'm surprised it hasn't been blown over. So if someone goes and repours concrete there to go and lift up the existing structure on jacks or whatever you're going to do, and then go drop it back on the building, someone could frame that in a day. So my thought would be, I could very easily see that being scrapped, framed, quickly lapped up with some board, and no one knowing none the wiser. Again, it's not our department to go and check that. So that's just outside of this. But there's 1 or 2 properties where in the village that I drive by on a daily basis, and I've shared this with Molly, where you do see a 6-foot fence facing the road that is not allowed. Or so I wonder from outside, we're over here and we're approving things that are congruous throughout the rest of the village. Who from the village of Pinehurst is following up on that? Is there someone?
It would be me and the building department. So our building department inspectors go out and inspect at different progress trucks. So when they pour that foundation the day after, the inspectors will go out. So that's how that works, is that it's twofold. They inspect for the building and structural integrity. I inspect for the historic nature of it. So your concern of them doing a quick swap will probably be caught. I can't guarantee it, but
there's no guarantee of anything in life other than what? Taxes and death.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I also don't think this applicant would do that as well.
Yeah, and it more came from Ms. Manzo. I was just wondering if someone had gone by from the village and said, "Hey, hold on, this is not what you guys did. Let's reconcile what was approved," or if a bill had come forward. But
yeah, no, and then I also do drive-by checks when I'm doing other inspections to see where things at. A good example is a lot of fences around here wait 3 to 6 months to paint because you need the wood to dry and all that kind of stuff. And so when I'm out, I know the fences that were recently approved, and I'll go out and make sure that they've been painted. A good example recently would be 120 Woods just got painted.
White.
Painted white, which was nice because there was a lot of new wood and was very prevalent. You could see it. So painting it white makes it look good, and they've now satisfied the requirement and they're good to go.
Good.
Okay. So any more discussion on either one of our general business issues? Well, the next meeting, and I hope it's not a virtual meeting, but we did pretty well. Next meeting date is May 28th, 2020. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, Tom Schroeder.
Tom Schroeder seconded. Who made the motion?
Eric.
Eric Von Saltzen made the motion to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you, Peter, for all the arranging.
Joining.
Thanks, everyone.
Oh, it was a big heavy lifting from the IT department. Trust me, it wasn't me.
Well, I don't know.
There was a bunch of it that you did too, Peter. I
Exactly.
for a fact know that. So don't undercut yourself.
Thank you all for participating.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys. Have a great
Bye.
evening.
Bye-bye.